Here we go on episode 125 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, our weekly opportunity to come together to grow, build, and shape our junk removal dreams. So, whatever you're in, whether you're doing junk removal, dumpsters, demolition, deconstruction, landscaping, cleaning, I don't give a shit. This is our opportunity to come together, talk business. And this week, I have a very special guest. You know her other half, some may say better half, Mr. Andrew Barten on our quarterly Barten marketing quarterly updates, industry updates, whatever we call those things. He'll be on in a few weeks. However, this week we have a very special guest, his better half, Raven Barten, joining us here on the podcast. Raven, how are you today?
Good. Andy, I'm excited to be here. Definitely a little bit new outside of my comfort zone, but I'm excited to join the podcast world and see what it's about.
So this is your first podcast ever?
First podcast ever.
So why are you on the show? That's an even better question. I normally go with why. I gave you a softball. How are you doing to warm you up a little bit because I'm a fucking gentleman like that.
I do appreciate it. Why am I here? I think I'm really here just to try something new, get out into a little bit of different professional world and see what it's about, get to listen to it and kind of go on the other side.
All right.
We have
I like it.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, right. As we know, we talk. P.T. Barnum said, "Comfort is the enemy of progress." So when we are uncomfortable, that means we are progressing, we're growing, we're building. Right. The first time a kid learns how to walk or talk or ride a bike, it's uncomfortable, right? And in that discomfort is when growth happens. There we go. Taylor hit me. Quarterly industry update. Those were the words I was looking for. Andy Barten with the quarterly industry update, which I'll be excited for his in a few weeks as we're nearing the elections and see how Q3 wrapped up for you guys. So
absolutely.
Let's give the listeners a little update. So they might know who Andy is, but shape and tell us about Andy, tell us about you, tell us about the business. Let's lay the groundwork for what's going to be a great conversation here today.
Sure. So came from a little bit different backgrounds, but I was born in Colorado and I was raised in New Jersey. Was brought up in the family business. My grandfather built an ice skating rink in 1962. Was an entrepreneur by heart and a medical physician. He pretty much passed on that family business from generation to generation. In 1985-ish, my mom moved back and kind of just took it over. So from a young age, we already started in the business. We learned about inventory, packaging, shipping, warehousing, customer service, answering phones. Not too much revenue, was just a little bit too young, and kind of the path into what created that business. So I always kind of grew up with that business background, I guess, as far as my mom was able to teach it to us. I graduated high school. She really only showed me kind of the traditional path as you graduate high school and you go to college. So I went to college. I got an academic scholarship to a college in Maryland. I did 1 year and I quickly realized that college was not for me. It was for me in that I met my husband that year, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Married right after that first year and moved to upstate New York. He's from Tupper Lake, which some of you may or may not know. It's about 70 miles from the Canadian border. I am from the Jersey Shore. So for me, this was a terrible location. It was way too cold. I hated everything about it, but we did it for 2 years. It did teach me, though, that I had to do different things. So I left the family business and had to find kind of my own path. I ended up back at community college for a little bit just to get an associate's degree, but it kind of put me into the hotel industry.
Okay.
I would say the hotel industry is still to this day, maybe to a fault, what I'm extremely passionate about. I love the sales. I love the customer service. I love the people. I just that thriving environment. And, like basically every day is different, which I guess is how it ties back to junk removal, was really good for me. We stayed up there for about 2 years, and then we moved to Rochester, New York. Rochester, New York is where I realized that I could sell. Got there, couldn't find a job, took a job as a service writer at an auto body shop. I knew nothing about cars. I still know nothing about cars. I'm from New Jersey. We don't pump our own gas. I had never put washer fluid in my car. They asked me to sell car parts. And I had a phenomenal boss. He was able to teach me everything. He was extremely patient. And I started making record numbers. I was bonusing every month. The OG guy that was kind of there before me, we used to get in tiffs because he could beat me at fantasy football every week, but every week I beat him on numbers for how much service plans and maintenance and add-ons we could add on. So I did that for a little while. I realized that while the job was awesome and I could sell, cars were not for me.
Yeah.
So I went back to the hotels. I took a job as a front desk attendant or representative and kind of moved up from there. I went into the supervisor role. We took over revenue, and then I got into director of sales, director of operations, and that's where I really just, I would tell you, like, that's where I found my own. I realized that, you know, selling was fun, people were fun, and again, like, once you learn the strategies and how to apply them, that was really my gig. That's where I could excel. We did that for a couple years. I don't really know how many, but a few. Ended up having my first child, first of four, ages 4 to 14 now, but first girl. And I wanted to move back home. So in 2010, we came back to New Jersey. My family business was still going and my mom was ready to retire. So we took it over. And that's kind of where the marketing, adventure began. So figuring out how to bring a ice skating rink that was built in 1962 and an e-commerce business that had no website and used to just all be mail order to 2010s, I guess, and really make it profitable.
What was that business?
So that was the ice skating rink. And then we also had the hockey supply store. So we used to sell ice hockey equipment, skates, goalie, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it used to be one of the largest in the States. Until we missed the boat and didn't make a website. So lesson learned is follow the trends.
Yep.
But with that, you know, we learned that we could rely on the ice skating rink to make revenue and to make new ideas so that we could still remain profitable.
Yeah.
So we did that business for a while and really learned different methods, different marketing techniques, and really realized that people still valued family owned. People still heard Ocean Ice Palace and they thought ice skating and they thought Brick, New Jersey. So it really kind of lent itself to there's still prospect here. So we really worked on that. We brought in hockey tournaments. We brought in bumper cars, just different, you know, kind of out of the box schemes to make sure that we could still keep going.
Yeah.
COVID hit. Fortunately sucked. Ice skating is not a necessity in New Jersey or maybe anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that shut us down. And then shortly after that, the lot that it sat on was one of the largest properties still left in that town. So we were able to, well, not me, I kind of begrudgingly stood behind it, but sell the family business for, you know, a better margin, and she got to retire.
Yeah, the ground was worth more than the buildings and the business on top of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ice skating rink plus parking. Yeah.
All that land. Yeah. So, I mean, once that opportunity came about, it was the right thing to do. I just didn't want to see it done.
Yeah, that's fair. And when did Andy get started, and when did you join him?
Sure. So Andy actually started the business, or we were licensed in 2012. The business idea came up a couple of years before that. I believe he went to a convention, but I couldn't tell you what year, probably somewhere between 2010, 2011. New Jersey is just super regulated. It took us forever to get a license. It took us forever to be able to haul junk. And so in the scheme of things, in the beginning, we still had young babies. So I pretty much just did the ice rink and then was mom. Yeah. And then as the rink started to realize that we were going to sell, I was, I guess, given the opportunity or transition opportunity to either say, okay, am I going to do full-time junk removal or full-time Barten Enterprises and figure out growth and scaling? Or is this my opportunity to go find something do that I was passionate about? I took the option for junk removal. I would never choose junk removal again, or not to say I wouldn't make that decision again, but I would never choose a junk removal business. The act of hauling trash is just not appealing to me at all. However, the business side of it, is super appealing. And the way we've been able to scale and grow over the years has been fun. So I really didn't come on full time from like just his normal, like maybe some bookkeeping or tracking O&D forms, answering overflow calls. Until about 2020. I think it was about COVID years when we were really able to kind of work together because I didn't have another job other than, you know, playing mom, and the kids were home. So it was easy. Yeah. And so it's really been like the last 4 years, I think, that we've been able to really grow and work together full time.
Do you remember what your revenue was in 2020?
It was low. He pretty much makes his money because we joined forces. No, it wasn't low. I think we've scaled
Or yeah, what's the growth of the last 4 years?
Well, the growth of the last 4 years is we went from just under $1 million company to hopefully hopefully our goal is to be a $5 million company by the end of 2025.
Oh wow,
So
end of next year.
the end of next year. Yeah. And with those have come, like different avenues too. So we've focused on, I guess different avenues of the market. So more than just junk removal, but adding in demolition, adding in different services, growing the dumpsters, growing so that we don't just have, 20, 30, but we have over 100 now. And all those things. And really, I think a lot of it boils down to just our marketing, our customer service, and being able to really capture all the leads that we get. So I think, making sure that that name, when people hear Barten Bros or Barten Enterprises, whatever they hear, most of them hear Barten Bros, but knowing that, okay, this is related to junk removal, that this is related to a dumpster, that if they need something, it's more than just, oh, call Andy, or, oh, I think Andy does that. It was growing the business and really making it profitable.
What's with did Andy's brother start with him, or what's with Barten Bros? What's with the name?
It's funny. So the licensing did take forever. When they first started, it was two of them with an idea. And then it did take, the better part of 2 years. And by the time it really came down to move into it, it just wasn't in the best needs of the other one.
Got it. Okay.
So still live super local, but just not a part of it.
Yeah,
but you can change the name at this point. You went through all that licensing and you were going to stick with it.
Yeah, Barten Bros is the way to go. Yeah, no, my brother and I, the first 4 years were together, and then we hit our 2-year non-compete. He decided to lean into his wood business. I did a couple other things, waiting out the 2-year non-compete, and then when there was an opportunity to come back together, it wasn't even really a question. He was, he was around. We talked about it, but he wasn't. He was already way into his wood business, and now his wood business is fucking killing it. He had a video last week or earlier this week, whenever it hit, over 15 million views now on TikTok. So he's killing it on the Instagrams and the TikToks and the marketing.
That's really incredible.
So you guys, let's talk marketing, because often when we have Andy on for the quarterly industry update, he's like, you got to talk to Raven about that. It's my best Andy Barten impression. So let's talk marketing. What are things that you implemented then? Like, so obviously, yes, you said right at the top, yep, you have to have a website. Okay, that's foregone conclusion. What I want to know from you in junk removal, what are the marketing avenues and aspects that have led to so much success for you guys? I mean, to scale from 1 to 5 million, right? 500% growth over a 5-year period. I mean, that's you're growing. Yeah, exactly. That's huge. I mean, you gotta double a few times along the way.
Yeah. So a lot of it, I mean, there's so many aspects of it. I don't even think I could get through them all, but a lot of it was the way the company culture was built. He did a very good job at making sure that the company and that the employees that were here all had our morals. They all had the company compass on them and wanted the same things. I tell everyone all the time in interviews, nobody really wants to come and haul junk. Nobody wants to throw trash in a truck, but they love that they come here and it's a team, and they love that they feel valued. And I think those things have helped us grow. And it's, as minute as they love to wear the apparel, like anytime they get new shirts and it's an Under Armour shirt, they'll wear it all the time. They're always asking for more. They always want the best hats. And then the clients are the same. Our company base, as far as referrals and returning customers go, those people are the same. They wear your brand and they're proud to say Barten Brothers, and they're proud to associate it with junk removal. So I think those things have tremendously helped us grow. I would tell you community support and community impact and awareness is definitely our largest one. I focus more on the numbers, but the market saturation of certain zip codes and making sure that we're on every baseball field or every soccer shirt, those things really help us, because people see Barten Bros. They might not necessarily know what it was. Barten Bros junk removal doesn't fit on the back of a soccer shirt. So sometimes it's, not awesome, but they see Barten Bros, and then you just have to have that word association. You want them to think about it every time they need a dumpster, every time a grandma's moving, and then that it's an easy growth, and it's really not that much of a spend.
Do you know what is your customer acquisition cost from a dollars or a percentage standpoint?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I would tell you it fluctuates, though. because we don't do the same thing quarterly. Or, I mean, we certainly don't do the same thing monthly, but we don't even do it same quarterly. So some months it's billboards, some months it's, higher internet marketing, some months it's more collateral. And so to really, boil it down, the number's probably higher than I would want. But at the end of the year, when you really think of how many new customers you were able to bring in and then the repeats from it, it does kind of, dissipate.
Well, here's the hillbilly math. Let's say you're at 100,000. I'm gonna use a simple number because hillbilly math is math. Okay, if you're
Yeah.
at $100,000 and you want to grow to $150,000, the hillbilly math says you got to spend 10% of your customer acquisition. And so if you want to get to 150, you have to start spending 10% of 150 in January, February, and March, not a little bit. I even go the opposite. I say go heavy the first
Sure.
half of the year to put money into the market to see which dollars are coming back, so you know which things to get rid of throughout the year. So earlier this year, we made an investment into Spectrum TV. So we wanted to get we had about $10,000 of ancillary whatever. Let's see if something works this year budget, right? And so we looked at three total over the box TV initiatives, and we spent ended up being about $8,500, $9,000 on Spectrum, and we did not see the ROI. Our ROI has to be a 5-to-1 ratio, right? So it's $5 back for every dollar spent, or 20% customer acquisition cost, or a $100 customer acquisition on $500 average ticket, right? We did not see close to that. For me to say something's good is we get that 5-to-1 ratio in 90 days. It's good, right? Goal is 10-to-1. Anything above 10-to-1 is great, right? So we still need to be at that 10-to-1 or trending towards 10-to-1 after 6 months. If we're not trending towards 10-to-1 after 6 months, if it gets to like 6, 7-to-1, it's chilling there. It's unsustainable, right? Unless there's other things associated with it, like networking, for example. Networking groups. I heard someone say that she gives networking groups 3 years to come to fruition because it's all about relationships. And we recently landed a customer from a networking group that'll be worth 6 figures this year alone already. And they saw us at multiple groups and chambers. So they're like, oh, hey, you're the guys. Like, yep, we are the guys. Right. So in that regard, it's like, I'm not gonna say, well, the one group that actually landed them was worth it and all the other ones didn't. No, it's like networking
How
was
many
worth it.
times?
Yeah. Now, even with us, we do a lot of golf outings. We did, I think in total, we'll do 18 golf outings this year. We can look back and say, okay, here are the 3 or 4 or 5, whatever the number ends up being, that we're not going to do again next year, right? Because either we're seeing the same people, or like we have some that are like statewide associations, so they're far enough out. So yes, it is, it is cut back and tweak. Like you guys do, you guys go heavy on the mailers, correct?
Yeah. So
Like,
a lot of people disagree, but we are very heavy as far as postcards go. So we do postcard mailers every month. We pick 4 zones. We used to do them in house, which is a little bit cheaper. I think it was 7 cents less per mailer. But when
yep.
you averaged it out, the time and what I was paying, just for myself to do the running around, it wasn't working anymore. So we ended up outsourcing it. And I just had this conversation the other day. Actually, we had a woman that called and she said, "Oh, your postcard was on my fridge and it's been there for a year." And I just got the second postcard and I realized I still need to call. And it happens all the time. And
Yeah.
people call and they'll say, "Oh, I can't believe I got this in the mail. Like it was perfect timing," or "Thank you so much." Like, people believe in that stuff. Like you were out looking out for me. And so it works.
Well, you're creating demand, right? Like Google, they're already looking for you, right? Even networking events, they're probably already looking for you. They're already asking, hey, who do you know? When you have, so that's the difference. There's a awareness, right? There's kind of the awareness. There's the creating the demand, and then there's the answering the call. If I look at 3 different buckets, right? Awareness is like, yep, we are, like you talk about the baseball, right? It's awareness. Yep, you see us on the diamond, you see us on the back of the shirt. We're just creating awareness. There's not a transactional thing happening, right? And there's really not a call to action. The demand creating is a call to action. Here's a postcard with our number that says call now, right?
Yeah.
Here's the phone number, or here's the what do you call it, radio ad or TV ad or even Facebook ad that creates the demand, right? And then the third thing is be where your customers are, right? Networking, Google. Hey, I'm looking for this thing. Oh, boom, Google, or even Facebook, where it's or Nextdoor. When you have the people that are like, hey, I'm looking for the best company that does this thing, right? That's the opportunity. I literally just made those. I just made those 3 things up right there, of where, when, and where you have to be, and then differentiating what sector is doing best. And also, you need all 3 in some capacity. Like I've done a few baseball teams where it's like $250 and you get the little plaque. I have not gone full commitment where it's like, nope, I'm going to be in every baseball diamond,
Yeah.
or every, or take one zip code. I'm going to be at all the sports thing in one zip code. Also,
So I
the
do
ones that
think
sell the ads at football stadiums are super expensive. Like they just seem ridiculously expensive.
yeah.
Versus a static poster, it's like $250 and it sits there all year at the Little League field, and you're like, cool. I need like 2 phone calls to make that poster, worth my time.
Worth the while.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do agree. I think when we started before the growth, it was a lot of internet marketing. We did strong Google marketing. We really did, I would say, zero collateral. Even the apparel and stuff, like it was wonderful, but it was still growing. Like there wasn't a ton of stuff. There wasn't a people saying, "Oh, can please make sure you drop off a hat," or I'd really like a sweatshirt, and all that stuff. So
you're giving hats and sweatshirts to vendors or customers or who?
Not to everyone, but we give them to a lot.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, commercial accounts are just good
Commercial. Yeah, absolutely. Commercial accounts get them. We usually go out a couple times, obviously, just to say hi. Most of the times you have to see them on job sites, but just to give them to them. The guys love wearing them. Like the commercial account vendors, their guys love wearing them too. So it's always great. Guys at Dump, they love wearing them.
Yeah. Men are so simple to please. Oh, I got a hat. I went to a conference last month with Rima, and I got this hat and T-shirt of a random scrapyard that's down south, and I've been rocking that hat for a while now, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, KNS Junk Removal sent me a T-shirt, or he came down to pick up a hot tub dolly from me, and I rock his hat all the time. It's like in my office as like my go-to if I'm not wearing a Camo Crew hat. It's like, I'll rock somebody else's hat, Oh yeah. I got my Jobber water bottle with me like 24/7. My Jobber coffee cup. We are simple creatures. We don't, like I got a hat and a T-shirt and a coffee cup. I will love you forever. Like that's how simple we are. Yeah,
it is true though. They, and they like it, and then your brand's out there one more time. Yeah. So it's all wonderful.
Yeah, because $20 T-shirt, you can spend $20 on a lot of stupid Google ads or other dumb stuff that hell. The Spectrum ads I ran, right? It spent whatever $8,000. How many T-shirts could I have bought with that $8,000? Like a lot, and just really taking care of people. So I
think they appreciate too. They love being taken care of. They love knowing that it's like a stupid thank you, but it's a small and they remember it. Thank you.
Well, yeah, one T-shirt's better than 10 tchotchkes.
Yes.
You don't have so many tchotchkes or so many chip clips or pizza cutters or like I'm committed to like my couple nice Yeti coffee cups. I got one from Gator Garb. She was on our show like, I don't know, a year ago. She sent me 6 hats with Camel Crew branding. Those are like the most coveted hats because they're unique, right? And I got a coffee cup and something else. And we did a hat order with her, like a month ago. Right. And yeah. So it like took a year for us to come around because that's when we needed hats again. And it's like, we are like, you also for us, at least for us, like when it comes to vendors, like if you give first, you give me something I didn't know I wanted, and then I'm going to go buy that thing. Like I feel like a dick not buying it from you. Right. I already have like this pre-guilt built in.
I usually have to at least then buy one thing, right? Your first order has to be from them. Yeah.
Something. Right. Yeah. Now if the hats suck and they don't come in, it's like, okay. Yeah, we bought 48 hats. I think they had a 24 hat minimum of each style. So yeah, we bought 48 hats. So like it's $450, $600. I don't know what hats go for, $10-$12 a piece. Like, but that's a substantial order, right? And it cost them $50. So it's like right there, right? Even if I buy $100 order and it costs them $50 to send me, 6 hats and a coffee cup, it's like, well, there's your 10% customer acquisition cost. And when I order a second time, now the customer acquisition cost goes from 10% to 5%. Right. And when I order again, it goes down to 33. And then when I order again, it goes down to 25. Right? It keeps going down, or 3.3 and 2.5 math. But that customer acquisition cost as a percentage, it keeps going down every time we have repeat business.
Right.
No, repeat business is repeat business. That's the cat's pajamas, right? Getting and referral business because you've earned it, and now your customers are telling you earned it, and you're getting business by doing what you already do. You give a great service. People give you a 5-star review or referral. It's like you got it from giving great service and for no other reason. I mean, prompting them along the way, but it's not costing you anything additional other than giving them great service and a thank you card.
Right. I think one of the things that also helped with growth Along those similar lines is the customer service. All of our calls used to be answered from a call center. And one of the things that we took on about 3.5 years ago is we built our own call center. And all of the calls are now answered within our office. I personally train every single person that answers the phone and teach them either the scripting or teach them the pricing, teach them understanding the pricing and understanding that everyone that calls has a need for your service. You just have to book the job. And so that was able to transition a huge portion of our revenue from maybes or estimates or all callbacks to this was a seamless thing. I called, they answered the phone. They were lovely most of the time. They were lovely though, and they got the job done and it was finished. Nobody wants to call around. Some people really do want to price shop, but most people don't care if they price shop. If you can get them on the schedule and you can get them booked and that is off their checklist,
Yeah.
it's huge.
What, how big is your call center? How many people you have there?
So there are currently 4 of us. We answer the calls 6 days a week. We still have an after-hour service too. But we answer the calls 6 days a week, pretty much from 6 to 8.
Okay.
Holidays are a little bit sketchy, but we're still formalizing some of that stuff. But the systems and the processes that we had to build from, again, the kind of the starting company of a one-man answer the cell phone, maybe the calls went to a call center, but being able to really take everything from, oh, just call Andy to, again, that Barten Brothers and that branding of you need something, you can call them. And there was an office and we answered all the time. We implemented text messaging too, and just even the faster response time on the social media platforms and the emails. So really giving him an out. So it didn't have to be answer that cell phone or answer that text message. They were all able to come to the office. And there's 4 or 5 of us that could always answer that for him. And then again, just get it booked.
Does your third-party call center, what do they do? Do they take messages? Do they book jobs, estimates?
Ours books jobs. We've used a couple. The current one is able to book jobs. They see the calendar. They get some of the preliminary information. Basically, we give them a checklist and it says get like the name, the job details, timeline, budget, stuff like that. They input it in the system and they choose your first booking block. There's some pros and cons to it. Obviously, if we answer the phone, it's always better, but there's times obviously you can't. So
yeah. And when you're going 6 to 8, so do you have different people that start answering first thing in the morning and then other people that are answering later in the day, like a swing shift?
Yeah, so we just have an AM shift and a PM shift. So one comes in early and typically then one closes late.
Got it. And then you just have, and then the meat of the day with the other 3 are,
yeah,
got it.
Kind of rotating through.
Yeah, no, that's where we are currently. We have 2. And we know we're going to add a 3rd yet this year and maybe a 4th at some point because, our goal is to be able to answer the phone and give phenomenal customer service and keep the trucks moving.
Absolutely. And they love that personalized. I think people really, they feel confident in it. We offer transparent pricing. They hear the same information no matter what time of day they call. So I think it instills confidence in them. I think when they call, they just know, okay, this is what I was told. This is what's going to be provided. And they love that personalized service of, okay, I tell everyone answer the call like the person. It makes them feel wonderful. They don't have to think like, oh, I'm calling someone I've never called. If they think that you actually understand them and you've heard them, they're going to book.
Oh, you froze when you said you think you understand them.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I think that, I don't remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
Well, you're understanding them and then, making sure that they know they can book.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, answer the phone like you know them. That's a great line. That's a great takeaway because that's what it is. Instead of sounding fumbled or salesy, right? And if it's like, hey, what's going on? Is with Camo Crew, what can I do for you? Versus a little more static. And I never thought about it. Like think about, I always leaned in, like especially when we have newer people that are afraid of sales. I'm like, they called us, right? Your cold calling is completely different. If you're reaching out to them, okay. They're calling us. They obviously have a problem, and we have a solution. It's our job to marry the 2 things, right? Absolutely. And then at that point, it becomes you develop a relationship through the transaction. Like I need your name, number, phone number, email address, all that stuff, right? I need those things. I also need to know what the project's all about, right? Is it the right project? Is it the right area, right? Does the timing work out for both parties, right? Those are things I need for this. The rest of the time in between is great time to have a relationship with them. Whenever, like, no matter what city people tell me it's very rare I answer the phones these days. But earlier this year, I was training up an operations guy. I go, no matter what city I have a tweet about that city. Like, oh, hey, I got pulled over there. They're like, oh, yeah, on this corner. Like, yep, cops always sitting there, like, or like, oh, yeah, hey, there's that good restaurant I went to, or, oh, hey, you guys do that festival every year. Something that personalizes it. And it's always fact based. But it's 4 seconds of, oh, yeah, I remember, I bought my first car in that lot right over there across. And chances are I'm doing stuff in the background while I'm having that conversation. And that for me, like, the best part of operations for me is having those conversations with people. I enjoy getting to know people because how much stuff you have and where is it in your house, like that could have been an email. That's not as much fun. And when people first start, it's like they're so focused on that, they lose the, hey, make a conversation out of it. Because like you said, when for me at least, when people are calling, it's like, I'm setting the job up. You have a problem, I'm here to solve it. Yes, there are dollars. That's the barrier. It is, when are you available? Those are kind of the two barriers to entry. And once we get through that, it's time to solve some problems.
I agree. I think it's.
Go.
No, I was just going to say, I think, you put it right. They have a need, and we don't really do cold calling. So when they call, they have a need, and we just need to give them that solution. And it needs to be streamlined, and it needs to be proficient. And then, again, it builds that trust, and they're willing to book.
Cool. All right, I'm going to hop out real quick. Taylor's yelling at me because I guess my video's acting a fool. So I'm going to hop out real quick, and I'll be right back.
All right, I'll be here.
Well, let's try this again. All right, we're back. Taylor yells at me again. Then, am I wrong? I'm just crazy. No, I heard a tick. Oh, there she is. Now she's moving again. All right. See, I'm down in New Orleans on the Wi-Fi in the Airbnb. So we are rolling the dice today. So when you had booked last week when I was in town, I was going to block off this week, and then I did it, and now here we are. No big deal. I did my other show before this and went off without a hitch. Okay, let's talk about training your new customer service people. What are the tactics and techniques to teach someone that knows nothing about junk removal how to sell to people that are calling on the phone?
Sure. So I think a lot of it, most of the people that work in our office here have never sold junk removal, sold dumpsters, sold demolition. And they just came in with some sort of customer service experience. Most of it was understanding the needs of the customer. We go through the day-to-day operations of how to answer the phones, everything's scripted, going through the basically your response times. If anything's longer than 3 minutes, you can ask them. I usually get kind of bent out of shape about it. But training with them regularly, training with them with new things, implementing new processes, not really afraid to change things from where we started to where we are now, given the fact that we've grown. And again, encouraging them more than anyone else, because they're on the phone often, is really building those relationships with the customers. So we do those through meetings of obviously understanding who the top clients are for the month, what the calendar is looking like, where the crews are, the location. Since, I guess, another step to growth, not to step back, but we opened a second location in that 4 years of growth there. So that did help with the revenue as well. Mm-hmm. All of the calls still came to the same call center though. So advising them to understand the needs of the other market, using the other market's phone number and not just this market's phone number, making people have that understanding that we can really do both locations from one, center basically, and we still understand their needs. We do a lot of tracking, obviously, data as far as how many jobs they've booked or how many calls they've booked, what their conversion rates are, what their hold times are, and always enhancing that customer experience, whether it's not always on the phone. A lot more has transitioned to online booking. So email, text messaging is huge. Not everyone calls in. And then obviously those social media platforms. One of the things that really was a change for us from the start of the company till now is when the call center opened, we had our first brick and mortar building. So foot traffic was never really a lead source for us. No one really walked in and said, hey, I need a dumpster, or, I have this couch sitting outside that I really need to get rid of. So it was more than just the on the phone service and the response to customers' emails, but it was actually in person and being able to talk to people and have that, absolutely no problem, just that yes mindset of whatever they need, we can accomplish. And if we get there and we can't, we'll be honest and we'll tell them, but let the guys get to the field and let's see what it looks like. And we can most of the time take care of it.
How much foot traffic do you guys get?
We get way more than you think. So
we get like one a week.
We probably only get, I don't know, maybe like 5 to 10 a week, but we are on a very busy road. It's a very main road. There's a ton of traffic and like people can walk in easily. There's open parking usually during the days the trucks are gone. So, it's welcoming, I guess. They come in, but it was different thinking, because even before this, it was just we answered phones, and we could sit anywhere and no one knew any, the wiser where you were or what you were doing. You just answer the phone and book the job. And now they can walk in and say, hi, I need a dumpster. What can you do? And it's, it does allow a little bit more of a personal connection. In person, they always want to tell you their stories. Why are they cleaning out the house, or why do they need the fence? Why does the shed need to be removed, etc.
So you said earlier 3-minute call times. So are those 3 minutes how long you want them on the phone, or 3 minutes before you respond to them? What was that 3-minute metric?
No, I'm sorry, 3-minute response time. So if a customer sends a text message, an email, or a Facebook request, I used to be closer to 3 to 7, and 7 just kills me. So anything under 3 is definitely my goal. Second, people love when they send an email and you pick up the phone and call them and they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe we're going to finish this and get it done right now. And they're elated. They're excited that it's off their task list.
That's interesting. So ours is 20 and 20. My goal is pick up the phone within 20 seconds, answer all emails, all emails and text messages, or text, Facebook, all the messages within 20 minutes. You guys are down to 3 minutes per.
Not for phones. So phones you have to answer within the first 2 rings.
Oh yeah. No, that's it. But you're down to 3 minutes for messages, emails, and otherwise.
And we're not consistent at it, mind you. Like,
no, but that's a goal. That's
hard.
It's a good goal. And that's interesting that when people see, my perspective is that when people send you an email, it's because they don't want to call you. I've never thought, hey, just call them right away. Like the thing is, when we do requests online, we let people decide phone, text, or email. Right then, if they say phone, then I'm calling them right away.
Absolutely. So our contact us has the same. So you can say, do you want an email, or do you want a phone call, or do you want a text message? Like, which means of communication do you prefer? If we don't select one, then we go to phone.
Got it.
Normally, though, like online bookings, we don't call back on. They booked online. They don't want to be bothered. It's confirmed. They're done. So you leave them be.
So that's interesting. When we get no preference, I always email. So I'm like, oh, they're just online. They don't want to really talk. That's interesting. Yeah. So even if I said it was 25, 25, 25, 25, right? 25 phone, 25 text, 25 email, and 25 no preference. We let those 25 no preference kind of fall in the email bucket. That's interesting to say, you know what, we're going to promote those to phone. I love it when people fill out something online and hit phone, because it comes in, I just hit the button there, and like to your point, they're like, oh, hey, I thought you might get back to me tomorrow. And you're like, and normally when I'm calling them, it's like a Saturday or Sunday when I'm working on something else. I have the inbox up.
Oh, awesome.
You're like, oh, I'm here. Like, what's going on? I might change that. Okay, so training wise, you have people that have never done it before. You give them a script.
So they get a script, but they also get usually the first 10 days is one-on-one training. So we sit across from each other or next to each other, what have you. We sit in the conference room and we go through the scenarios of calls. Now, mind you, I could never go through every scenario of calls. So I try to go through the generic ones, the just ridiculous ones that we get, and you just have to book, and there's crazy questions. And then kind of the ones in the middle that are, this is a gray area and we're probably going to do it, but maybe there's some question and hesitation on it. After, I guess, the scripting and then making it their own, it's following up with the customers and it's understanding the scripting of what are you asking them for? Did we meet their expectations? Did we not? If they're not ready to book, why weren't they ready to book? Did you get all that information? And then obviously the pricing. So pricing is the hardest thing to train, for us at least. We bill, as I'm sure most do, but it's how much space items take up of the truck, and nobody understands cubic yards. It's not something that they're used to. It's not something that they've ever used and that they're familiar with. So you say 2 cubic yards and they look at you like you're crazy. So we've tried to dumb that down. into pickup truckloads. We've tried to take them out and really show them a truck and say, okay, this took up this much space. If you can calculate this, our website's pretty enhanced where there's a pricing calculator so they can kind of scroll through and see, okay, this is an eighth, this is 5/8, what have you, and go from there.
Yeah.
But really, I just tell them, like, it's not necessarily pricing on the phone. People will ask for a price, but people really, once you get there, the team in the field is phenomenal and they're able to sell it. So let them get there, let them get on site, let them see that they showed up in a marked truck, that they're dressed, clean cut and they're ready to work, and that they actually have transparent pricing and they say, okay, this is how much you have and this is how much I'm going to charge you for it, and that we can do the job today. And obviously, once you're on site, you can close the deal.
Yeah. Also, if you can see this, how long ago was that picture of Andy? Can you see the comment Andy I put up as a banner or not? Are you not looking at our screen?
I see the picture.
How is that like 17? Is that like his high school photo?
No, we were already married, but I don't know.
That's an old ass picture. He is rugged since then.
I'm pretty sure this is his best friend Tate Connor's wedding, actually, up in somewhere in northern New York, Canadian border. I would have to guess it's like 2006, 2007, maybe.
It's like
10 he has no beard. Wait, have you seen the beard?
Yeah, I see him. I see him once a quarter. We chat. We talk.
No, you haven't seen the beard that's coming now, though.
Ooh, nice. Okay, we got a new beard. All right, there's a little teaser for all of you listener. He will be on October 7th, 2 weeks from today. More than likely, Andy Barten will be on October 7th, maybe the 14th, with a new beard, apparently. Actually, Raven, I'm down here in New Orleans with my parents, and I went to Bourbon Street, and I showed them the bar that has the bull that you may or may not have been at with Andy and Casey and I.
No big deal. Or may not have.
May or may not have that. That was Waste Expo last year. Yeah. So that's the other thing, the listeners. We know each other in real life because of that's the only time we've hung out in real life, and it's because of being on the Facebook groups and doing the podcast and sharing best practices.
Absolutely.
And here's my plug for October 25th. We're doing our recycling summit weekend in Wisconsin. I'm in New Orleans right now. I was going to say right here, but it's up in Wisconsin. So 25th, 26th, we have 25 total registrations available. Keep the groups tight. Keep it small. It is free. Learn about operations, recycling, and networking along the way. Get yourself to Wisconsin, and everything else beyond that is taken care of, because our goal at Camo Crew, my goal is to provide as much information and knowledge as possible and reduce all the barriers. So October 25th kicks off at noon through the 26th, that Saturday, wrapping up around 4 or 5 o'clock. So with a minimal commitment, you can maximize your time and knowledge. It's about having that abundance mindset, that there's a lot of knowledge out there. And so the knowledge that I've gotten from you guys through the years, it all started by taking that initiative. I don't know if I reached out to Andy or Andy reached out to me, but people told us, we were like-hearted individuals, and we needed to get together. And that's how we got you on the show today. Because every time I ask Andy a marketing question, he's like, "You got to talk to Raven about that." And so here we are,
passing the buck.
Oh yeah, passing the buck. He delegated. He holds you in like the high. Yeah, he also holds you in like the highest esteem. He's like, I don't know, Raven knows that stuff. She's smart. I bank jobs. Call me on Sunday. I'll be there. I mean, that's his answer. Is like, I pick up the phone. That's what I do. Pick up the phone. Make shit happen.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's one of the, I would tell you, another transition of the one man and then to the call center is everyone says, oh, well, I spoke to Andy on the phone and he just told me to book the job. Then he told me to call you and tell you to book the job. And he doesn't look at the schedule. He has no idea what's on there. I guarantee he has no idea what's happening tomorrow. And it's every day, all day. And so that, changing the systems and changing the way even the customers interact, the answer is always yes, but it's yes with a little bit of, gray. I might not be there at 8, but maybe I'll get there by 10.
Yeah. Yes. And this is what I need. Yes. And this is yes.
Yes.
We had a job last week where they're like, hey, can you have this done by Monday? And we're like, yes. And this is what we need. We need a lockbox. We need the customers to be gone. We need clear and and we need to get in there and make it happen. Like, no, there are no hiccups. And that was an ugly one last week where we had it where we've been working on this project for 6 weeks. And of course it was the last push And then they held their ground more than they thought, and they had to be out and and they're selling the house and yes. So
Now
it's
that they
yes, and this is what's going to take, or yes, and yes.
yeah.
We have a big demo coming up, and we budgeted. I'm like, yeah, everything goes right, we can get it done in 3 weeks. Chances are it's going to take 4, and I would like 5. And so they came back and they're like, all right, you have 3 weeks. We're like, cool. It's going to take us 4. And it's like, once they want 3 and they're happy with 4, and then demo 4 really means 5, right? Like it's get it demoed enough in the 4 weeks so the architects can come in there and take shot, start taking measurements and doing their thing. It's like, yes, if it bleeds into that 5th week because we're sweeping up piles or doing the last of this stuff, okay, like that's an accepted liability of demo work. It's like, yes, and this is what it's going to look like after 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Hell, they might be able to do everything they need to do after 3 weeks, with us concentrating on the right areas.
Right. But to let them be pleasantly surprised and not disappointed.
Well, it's yes and make it real, right? That's it. It's interesting. So Andy is a lot like my brother Isaac when he was my business partner. Isaac's answer was like, "Put it on my calendar." It's like, well, when? Find some time. It's like, well, I can't make time. I just can't make it up out of our ass, And that it's a lot like my dad. And it's like, yeah, that's the can-do attitude. And so I've definitely learned that because I'm an operations guy. Like, I want things to fit in nice little boxes that make sense to me and are easily communicated to everybody.
I've also found, though, that with that mentality, we're able to do so much more. So I'm more like you. I want it to fit on that calendar, and I want it in the time slot. And we just keep putting it on the calendar, and the guys get it done.
Yeah, figure it out. Yeah.
They're going to make it work. No one's going to say no. No one's going to leave at the end of the day and not have the job. So it is, you can push them harder than you think.
Yeah.
Obviously with reward, but
it's a push-pull mindset. I'm all about taking care of the employees and rewarding them because when the company makes money, it's not exclusively Andy and making money or the leadership taking. It's like, no, we made money. Let's celebrate the fact that we made money.
Yeah, I agree.
What else? So I'd say a lot of our listeners are at that under or around $1 million, right? $1 million is what they're looking to achieve.
Okay.
What advice do you have for them to get to that million?
To get to the million. So to get to the million, I think is still your traditional trajectory path. You're going to keep working on your marketing. You're going to keep working on your return customers. I think those are going to be able to get you to that million. I think the biggest hurdle is that 1 to 2. But I think the branding and the focus of your different channels, whether it be the community base, like we spoke about, whether it's increasing your internet marketing, print marketing, collateral, word of mouth is huge. We need to do better, but it's a work in progress, but we don't do much with the associations. Like that networking part. We do a lot of online networking and we do a lot of word of mouth networking. Through commercial-based customers and growing those. So I think there's always growth even through the steps we're taking. But to get to that 1 million marketing, I think you still really have to be committed to it. I think the marketing is going to play a big role. Andy and I kind of go back and forth about it, but how much to spend and how much is just too much spending. So I think really saturating that market, the word association again. We got lucky actually with this first brick and mortar. We landed on Barten Ave, and people will say, oh, is that meant to be? And I'm like, well, it's spelt wrong, so we didn't choose it. But I do think it all plays in. People see junk removal, they see Barten Ave, they see the trucks, they see you driving around town, they see you on the shirts, they see you in every Google search, they see you on the Google Maps. They don't do much in Yelp or any of those, but the rest of those, I think just keeping it that seamless customer service and making sure you answer every call, you can definitely get there. And then investing
going 1 to 2. What does it take to get from 1 to 2? You said that's the most difficult.
I think it's more difficult for us to get to 1 to 2. I think 1 to 2 really required the increase in staff and the increase in capacity. So adding those other trucks, obviously adding other trucks and adding other dumpsters brought in additional expenses every month. And so those things are challenging. Can you really afford to pay them? You can afford to pay them. You can always make enough money to pay your bills. You just have to work harder. And I think that's one of the things that we've kind of always agreed about. I had a friend, actually. We had a conversation. We were talking about going on a trip, and she said, I don't know if I can afford the trip. And I said, we're going to work hard enough to make sure we can afford the trip. And I think that has really spilled over into our business. Is we'll always keep working harder to make sure we can get to the next level, whether it's reinvesting into it, whether it's reinvesting into the employees too, because those are your huge marketers, and you're already paying them. So, dress them up well and let them talk and sell your business. But I think all those things really help get you to the next level. Just that association.
No, I love that. I think this is interesting as you're saying that. I thought about in previous episodes, and I've talked about this. I want to double tap this point. Is people? It's like you took a risk to get here in business, and you have to continue to take risks to get to that next level. The challenge is people will take the risk to get in the business and then stop taking risks,
Yeah.
or they'll go talk to people that have jobs, right? Like she's an ex now, but I dated this woman. She's like, oh, well, I have to save up for this, or I have to save up for that. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't save up for any. I work more or harder or take a few more chances, right? Like we have uncapped potential. Like when you're a W-2 person, it's like, okay, here's my cap potential earning, so I can either spend this much or this much, and then I save the delta. And I'm like, why don't we just make more fucking money? Like making more money sounds cool. Like let's go make more money. Right? That's or I did a couple of years ago. I did Jobber. They had me on episode. It was season 1 of Masters of Home Service podcast, and they're like, "Let's talk about controlling expenses." And I'm like, "Cool. First thing you do is make investments. Like spend money on your people, spend money on good assets like trucks, right?" So I'm like, investments, marketing, employees, those are investments, right? When I pay an employee, I'm freeing up my time. When I'm paying for marketing, I'm freeing up my time, right? That's the thing. Then, right, when I talk about assets, I'm like, no, buy the best equipment, buy the best trucks. Like those assets will cut down the labor, they'll cut down the industries. I say industries, injuries, right? They cut down potential damage to customers' property. It's like, no, make those investments and then purchase assets. The last thing is expenses. You're going to have expenses like disposal and fuel. Like those are true expenses. And so when we look at that as spending money on employees training, that's an investment. Like you spending 10 days with one of your new customer service people, that's an investment you're making, right? Not an expense. And even to that end, right? Like I like what you said. Get into a million is doing the basics. And that's what we had no plan to get to a million. We did 900 our first 12 months. We did 480 or our first January to December 12 months, right? Our goal was 500. We did 900. It was like, oh, we did the basics, right? And now we landed a couple really big jobs in there. And while we did those really big jobs, we took care of all regular customers. It was like, oh, well, that was cool. And along the way, we figured it out. It was the basics. I will agree with you. From 1 to 2, you have to do beyond the basics. Because we went from 900, the next year we did a million, and the next year we did 1.5. Because what got us to that 900 to a million did not get us to 1 point, and then we had to jump to the 1.5. Like we weren't flat, but there was that whole year where all we did was the basics, and we jumped up 100,000. We went from 480 basically. 480 was our first 12 months, rolling 12 months. But we went 900 to a million because it was like, oh wow, we barely grew because we didn't do anything different. And then we started doing different, and we got to the 1.5, and now we're exceeding that past the 2 million mark. And I already know for our goal is to get to our next big step is 3 and then 5. In order for us to get to 3 and then 5, I know that we need to do things that we have to do the basics. We have to get the one that gets us to 1 or 2, and now it's like, well, what gets us to those next 2 echelons? I look at 3 and then 5 as the next 2 echelons for us. And so how do we do that? And it's more, right? More of what you've been doing, doubling down, and might have to do some different things. Or not might, there will be some different things that are better, right? That's what it's all about. What are some better things? That's why we made the choice this year to jump into the TV space. Is like, okay, let's see if this working. Well, it didn't. We also did some radio. Yep, that didn't work either. Okay, now let's experiment with a few other things that we haven't tried yet. I know about a year ago I was completely against online booking, and I finally did it. Was this time? It was like October 1st of last year, and it has not made a huge change in our business because I had the scare. Yeah, well, I had a scarcity mindset that it was going to like, oh, they're going to book all these times. Now we basically let people book whenever they want, and we then fit them in. It's like, I don't know. It's probably 3 or 4 bookings a week. We do about 50 jobs a week, so it's like less than 10%. So yeah, it's good. But yeah, I was apprehensive at first to do it. And a lot of times when people book online, they're like, I don't know, I booked online. I don't care how much it is. I just want to get it done. Right. Like money or, price is not, I was going to say money is no object, but price is not a barrier to entry. It's more the convenience they can have. They want to get the work done. That would have been a little soapbox there. All right. We're coming up on 5 minutes to the top of the hour.
Gosh.
What last parting words do you have for us today?
Last parting words. I would tell you to probably embrace the unknown. And I'm not very good at that. Going back to kind of the hotel days, Andy was in it with me. And one of the things we did is we did this personality test. And I still to this day remember they sorted everyone in the room by different groups. And it was, all your different levels. And I am totally an introvert and he is 100% an extrovert. And him and I stood in our separate corners in this room by ourselves in these boxes, and all the other people were filled in between. And I really think that's what's helped make this business successful, is that we both bring different things to the table. We are, mutually agree on a lot of things, but we're also very different in the way that we think and the way that we try to grow. So scaling this business and the growth of the business, sometimes I'm more of the one to put on the brakes and say, let's run more numbers. And he says, let's run numbers tomorrow after we've done it and figure out how much money we need to make to actually make that worth it. And I think that's pretty much helped us grow. And then obviously the day-to-day operations of figuring out then how to pay for it has helped on the other side. So what to do to motivate you, but spend the money. Don't waste your time. Really, do your due diligence, but don't really waste the time of the banter back and forth. I would say streamline the operations. Hiring employees is stressful. I think sometimes you think, all right, I'm paying this much money. Are they really making enough? But I really do think that if you can train them and that you can, again, make those systems and processes, it's totally worth it. They're going to make the money back for you. And I would say don't be afraid to work. Embrace it. We're only doing this for so many years. So go ahead and make the business, the biggest you can make it. And whether you sell it or retire with it or send it down the line, I have no idea. But whatever it is, understand your data, improve the efficiency, and make sure that it's working for you and it's what you want.
No, I love that. It's the 80-20 rule, right? Get the 20% of data that you need to make the decision. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to get, paralysis by analysis. And that's the challenge. And I love it. It's like, and he's like, well, let's make the decision and figure out what we need to do to make it happen. It's like, all right. Right. Because what you're saying is, it's already a foregone conclusion. We're going there. So let's go there. Right. I mean, versus, let me collect all the data, and then make a decision. And by that point, you're already exhausted.
You are.
So,
and I think that's with everything. You'd never have kids or buy a house if you really thought about it too long. So,
oh my God, but becoming a business owner, an entrepreneur is not a safe bet. So why start safety now, right? Like, yes, it is safe to have a job, and okay, you didn't get into this whole mess to be safe. So why all of a sudden now are you concerned about safety? Oh no, I'm 100% on board with you there, right? Like, I like what Andy said. Make the decision and then figure out what data justifies. Not what data, but what do you need to make, right? Because you've already obviously been, processing this. There are very few decisions I've made in this world where I'm like, that was the wrong decision. There are tons of times where it's like, yep, not making a decision, not taking the leap, not jumping. That was the not doing was the wrong choice. Because when I've made the choice that didn't work out, I've learned something, and then I made the better choice or right choice, whatever you want to call it, thereafter. So that's my top takeaway: is that the sooner you make the decision, the sooner the new data becomes available to let you know whether or not their decision worked or didn't work. Ultimately, did it serve your end state and goal? Like you said, right? If your guys' goal is, hey, let's grow this thing as big as we can. Well, every decision you make that involves growth, that's the decision you're making. Right. If it gets to growth, that's where you're going with it. So I love it. All right, Raven, you did great. First podcast ever. We had a conversation. It's surprising how many people this is their first podcast. In my head, I'm like, oh, people do podcasts all the time. Fuck do I know? All right. Coming up next week, Howard A. Lim coming on the podcast. No idea who this person is. However, he is a business and brand architect, a global presenter and keynote, a certified speaker at Vistage Worldwide, and author of Authentic Branding. So if you want marketing, you've come to the right place. We had Raven talking to us today about marketing, trying to shift it a little bit into customer service and culture, which I really appreciated. And next week, Howard A. Lim is going to be talking about the authentic branding. What I like about him, this is all I know. All I know is what Taylor put up in the show notes, because, we're getting professional here after 125 episodes. If he's a Vistage speaker, I'm a Vistage advocate, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm a member of Vistage. It's a CEO roundtable. Huge fan of Vistage. And in order to become a Vistage speaker, you have to be good at what you do. So that, to me, like, of all the things we need to list that first, Vistage speaker, because that tells me that he is good people. So that is next week. Andy Barten coming up the week or two after. I'm sure if I text him right now, I was like, hey, you're in the schedule for October 7th. He's like, all right, put it on my calendar. He doesn't know. I think he was late to one of our episodes. He's like, I'll be there in 3 minutes. And it was like 10 minutes later. I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, what's going on? Forgot this on my calendar. I'm like, yep, that's fine. The quarterly industry update with Andy Barten. It's can't miss TV. All right. Any last things for the good of the group, Raven?
Not too much. I tell you to work on it all, but keep hustling. Don't stop.
Yes, keep learning. Maybe that'll be the takeaway here. Keep learning. Every week is an opportunity to gain more ground in your personal life, your professional life, and your business. On behalf of Taylor, our producer, the better half of Barten Bros, Miss Raven Barten, I'm Andy Weins, your host of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Bye now.